4,
5,
6.
Beautiful.
Put up the wrong number of fingers right there.
Doesn't matter. Fingers don't matter. Fingers are just for fun. The clap's all that matters.
Oh my God.
Live by the clap, die by the clap. The sound of the clap sets you free.
Hey, pal, if the clap could kill you, I never would have made it through sophomore year.
Yeah. You and a lot of my grandma's war buddies.
Oh my God. Did you say grandma or grandpa?
Either way.
I heard grandma, and it has a whole different interpretation to me. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Nerdy for 30, the podcast where we talk about nerdy-ish things for 30-ish minutes. My name is Kevin Bauer. With me, as always, is my co-host, Tim Keck. This is our first movie that we have covered officially in season 3 so far, and I want to address a note that we've gotten on the first 2 seasons so far. People have tuned into the podcast very kindly. Thank you so much for listening to this. You know, you, again, very kindly have shared this with people. There's a good chance that if you're listening to this, you know us personally. We've crossed paths at some point. But a few friends have said that they've shared this to other people, people that do not personally know us. And the resounding reaction from those people is, who are these guys? We don't really explain who we are. We've never had any.
Let's get into the movie. M3GAN, Kevin.
Today we're talking about M3GAN. I will dive right in with this. I loved this movie. I didn't think that it achieved the heights that it could have achieved. I think that PG-13 rating really held it back. I think we can maybe trim 15 minutes of this and add in some more R-rated like thrills. And I think this is a better movie. But overall, I mean, I'm happy with considering this a modern classic. Tim, do you agree? Do you disagree? Where are you at?
This movie is fantastic. I have 2 big beefs, one of which you've already touched on. Biggest beef, it's PG-13. This should be an R. Maybe as not as many people are seeing it if it's an R. Maybe it doesn't have all the hype. Maybe it's not blown up the way it is if it's an R, but it should be an R. That would make this movie better. Second one, not enough dancing, Kevin. Not enough dancing.
Ooh.
We saw all the dancing in the trailer. There's no more dancing. They need more dancing. If this movie had just you know, I want to, math's not my strong suit. I want to prescribe a percentage to this. If it had 50% more dancing and killing, this would have been the greatest movie ever. It did not. Could have done more killing. She let too many people live. You know, the assistants survived. The assistants should have died in the most gruesome way possible. They almost did. They didn't. And that's a big L. And she should have been dancing the whole time. Why wasn't she dancing constantly?
It's crazy to me that the assistants lived when again, we're getting right into this. I want to get into my biggest beef with the movie. The people that she decided to kill seemed so inconsistent. Assistants lived. The CEO of this toy corporation, she started trying to kill. To my knowledge, she had no beef with this guy. Like when he saw her dancing at the end of the hallway, I'm running through in my brain and going, have they ever met? Outside of when she was kind of glitching out when they were first presenting her to him. I don't think they had any interactions, and yet she wanted to kill him.
She really only has one motive in this, which is to protect the kid. And that really goes out the window in the third act.
Yeah.
And I don't think it needed to. I think there's a way to do the story where it's all under the guise of protecting her. She throws a tantrum because she's a kid who's been through trauma. She goes through another traumatic experience. She throws a tantrum. This character becomes overly aggressive defending her. I mean, it could be as simple as I'm sad because, my aunt has to work late because her boss is the worst. He's evil. And then she goes and kills,
yes,
there's enough there. There's enough meat on that bone where it's I will do anything I can to the nth degree to protect this girl who, by the way, perfect casting with Katie or whatever her name is. They found the saddest looking girl in the history of the world. And they gave her they told her to be herself and she knocked it out of the park. Boy, what a bummer that kid is. My God, that girl, I don't think that girl's ever smiled a day in her life. But when she did, it didn't feel right.
Oh
Man.
my God. Did you ever watch the Homestar Runner cartoons online when you were a kid?
I thought vaguely.
Like Homestar Runner and Strong Bad. They had a character at one point. They tried to design the saddest character possible. It was like a one-legged puppy named Will Butter. And his slogan was like, I can make it on my own. And he's this one-legged puppy that's going to try to do it on his own no matter what. But oh, he's so tragic. And she's like a human manifestation as Will Butter.
She's like Debbie Downer, but like, you know, as a kid, you know, and then she grows up to be like scared of everything and everything's sad. Everything close to me dies. The world's going to burn.
Honestly, you know what? I was about to say that she kind of reminded me of the protagonist for Malignant, which, by the way, if you're listening to this and you haven't seen Malignant yet, same writer as M3GAN. Go see Malignant.
Is it really?
This movie's bonkers. Yeah, that's the thing. This connection. I was like, she reminds me of her. And then it's like, yeah, the same writer. I think kind of that's where her protagonists are at, you know, as a writer.
Interesting. Yeah, they're both. She loves a sad sack who's just kind of done with everything, which is interesting. I mean, they're both themes of like protection, right?
Oh, for sure. And I think it's a more fun way to kind of get people on board with a character than your like typical, you know, slasher movie. It's like the horrible, stereotypical like bimbo girls in the 80s. And it's like, oh, I can't possibly run from this murderer into the pond. I don't want to get my socks wet. Like, it's so much more fun when it's like, you know, you see someone go through something that would understandably leave them very shaken. And so you empathize with them immediately. And then when you're rooting for them to get through this, it's rooted in so much more of a place of like, I don't want them to go through more suffering. In the case of both of those characters, like very much so in Malignant and in M3GAN as well. I'm trying so hard to avoid Malignant spoilers because it's such a thrill ride.
Yeah,
you
gotta watch it. If you haven't watched it, you gotta watch it. It's great. You should also see M3GAN. The kid.
You definitely should.
Yeah, I do feel bad for the kid and also resent the kid and find the kid annoying.
Really?
Well, it's just like being a spoiled brat. You know, at a certain point, it's like you like just go along with it. I don't know. I'm not saying I 100% love the kid. Allison Williams, I think. The Nepo baby is like another perfect casting for her where I don't really like her. And I don't think we're necessarily supposed to. I mean, she is essentially throwing herself into her work to create a doll to spend time with this kid that she doesn't want to spend time with. And even though she says all of the right things, her actions dictate that she doesn't really want anything to do with this kid. So she's nice. Maybe she's not kind, but she's nice and she says all the right things and she smiles and she loves Katie and wants Katie to be happy and wants Katie to be able to talk to her. But she also doesn't want to talk to Katie and she doesn't want to spend time with Katie. And so she invented this creature to spend time with her. And I find Gemma pretty unlikable. And the kid becomes this kind of unlikable brat who's like lashing out at everybody, you know, it's not unearned. On both sides, it makes sense, and it's not unearned because one, you know, Gemma didn't ask for a kid, and the kid also didn't ask for her parents to be killed and to be schlepped onto her aunt. So they're both in an impossible situation that brings out the worst in them, and they just kind of exacerbate each other in a way that's, you know, fun to watch and enjoyable. But I'd be honest. I got to admit, I thought, you know, if Gemma gets it, it's not the end of the world. You know, maybe this movie ends with the doll winning and just raising Katie and they're all happy together. I think that's a scenario.
Holy shit, that would be wild. Like if it ended with somehow like the different AI systems mimicking her voice and doing check-ins with. Oh, that's insane. Yeah. I got chills. I think there's a fun way to pull that off. That's a nice little rewrite. Yeah.
I like it.
I think where this movie really shined is when it was able to, you know, go off of the shocker, like where it shined is where M3GAN as an antagonist had motivations that were understandable and clear. Revolutionary screenwriting principle. And I think the most effective death for me was the next door neighbor, because I don't think it was made explicitly clear, but you can interpret the fact that M3GAN probably heard Allison Williams saying something to her along the lines of like, hey, don't you spray those chemicals along my side of the fence. I think early in the movie, she's like, I don't need, my niece breathing in these like toxic fumes or something. I can't remember if M3GAN was there for that moment or not, but regardless, the death of her getting stuffed with the like toxic chemicals and turning it on full blast, tying the death to the thing that the character did to threaten Katie is brilliant. Like, that's a perfect thing of like, if it's the boss, if Allison Williams complains like, yeah, I'm sorry, Katie, I could play with you. I could pay more attention if the boss didn't have me burning the midnight oil. And then if M3GAN like kills him at midnight by lighting a bunch of oil on fire or something, like tying that in,
I didn't make that connection, but that's great. I think that's the first time they get to the house. I think the first time we see the house is like with Katie, with Allison. They go to her home. The neighbor is a huge Karen who's the worst. And she's like getting something on the driveway. And then she says like, you can pressure wash it off. And Gemma's like, I shouldn't have to pressure wash your shit. And then what happens? This neighbor's face gets pressure washered off, which incredible death. I don't know if you ever been hit with a pressure washer, but that thing could definitely take skin off. And yeah, that's the kind of thing where I was like, I kind of want to see it. I know it's going to be messed up, but I kind of want to see the cartoonish, like skin being like flopping off in the spray of water on there. It's such a good death that I don't think I've seen before. I kind of wanted more. Do you think it's a pretty masterful dog death as well, I think.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, you never like to see it, but it was heartbreaking in this movie. I felt so bad for that next door neighbor. I'm never gonna.
You felt bad for the neighbor?
Yeah,
the neighbor was awful. The neighbor was awful.
The pet also never deserves it.
Once the dog bit her, I was like, the neighbor sucks, because there's no bad dogs, there's bad people. And if you have a dog that is acting out and biting people and causing a problem, you're the fucking problem, and your face should get pressure washed off. That's where I draw the line. I got a pressure washer. I got a pressure washer. Get me a hose, because I've got a pressure washer to take to this dog owner's face.
Oh my God. Dude, that death is absolutely. So there's a rumor swirling around that there is an R-rated cut. I've heard hard R-rated cut of this movie that might get released if there's enough fan demand for it. I don't know if that would be like the digital release, like an unrated edition or something like that. The pressure washer scene, there's got to be a grosser version of that out there. Because when it happened, I was like, you know me, I don't like slasher stuff that much. Like I don't love gore in my horror movies. So when the pressure washer came out as a weapon, I was like, this is going to be a rough couple minutes. This is not going to be fun. And then it just, it looked like pretty cartoony. Like she got hit with the blast of hose. I'm okay with that kind of stuff in a PG-13 rated cut of this movie, because I do think it's fun that it probably opens this movie up to more people. And I do think it's a very fun movie that I would love to become like a modern classic in any way. I love M3GAN. But I do feel a little bit robbed, because I think like it's such a deceptively good movie. It's such a deceptively subtle movie that I think that kind of like expertise and subtlety in some of the commentary with like Allison Williams pawning off raising this kid onto electronics and AI, I think it's heightened when you also show mastery of the form by like going fucking wild with the like kills and deaths in a slasher movie.
I agree. What was your next favorite death then? Are there, because I do think that's maybe a weakness of this, that I think you would get more in an R, is like we aren't getting these like insane deaths that I think this creation is more than capable of, The paper cutter sword is fun, I guess.
That was
the cable thing was neat, but nothing really to write home about, I think, other than the fight with the kid in the woods is fun. Him pulling off his ear, but she doesn't even kill him. He just like kind of rolls down a hill or something, and gets hit by a car. So her death toll isn't as high as I think it could be in one of these,
Oh, definitely not. M3GAN could have been sneaking off in the middle of the night and just offing people. Like there's a version of this
constantly.
movie. Oh yeah, she could just be like this, like
she could have killed
weird.
The cop.
Oh my God, she probably should have. Like that's a perfect example of like anybody that's snooping around starts going missing, and then we have a scene where we find like bodies buried. Like M3GAN, we find out, and like the camera pulls out, and it's like a graveyard worth of buried bodies.
hundreds and thousands of bodies.
I even kind of thought they were playing it so safe for so much of the movie that I thought when this like release thing was going to happen, I thought for sure we were going to get a situation where all the doors to the building get locked because they have that like brand representative saying like, we need more people in here. I thought the door was going to get locked and M3GAN was going to kill like 300 people.
Well, like what's the justification for that? How does she justify that?
I don't think there is one. Unless like somehow it's like you have to tie it back into Katie or it's not interesting at all. Like, yeah, that's what I was going to say is my next favorite one's probably the paper cutter death, just because I'm a huge fan of the Thomas Jane Punisher movie. And that was the first time I ever saw somebody use like a paper cutter as a weapon. So it brought me right back. But there wasn't really a reason to do that because she didn't even know that that guy had shared the files. He's just a random employee of this company.
But she did know he shared the files, right?
So she killed
he downloaded
the CEO.
her files because then she taunts him and says she kills the CEO and she's like, who's going to believe you because you were stealing from the company and then you got discovered. So then you lashed out, and
That's
she's
right.
blackmailing
Right.
people. Like there is this very fun horror aspect of this where she knows everything because she has all your data. And then she does these grisly, horrible things in a way that like she can incriminate you at. Like there aren't a lot of other quintessential horror characters that do that, right? That like set you up to be framed. Michael Myers isn't going around like murdering people and then staging a scene, like planting a glove, leaving DNA at a crime scene. M3GAN could just fabricate everything. I think it'd almost be scarier if the aunt wrongs her. And so then she incriminates the aunt for the neighbor's murder. So the aunt goes to jail.
And she can be alone with Katie.
Katie. But then they need a guardian.
That's so cool.
I mean, there's things like that could be taken care of where it's like she figures out ways of removing these people, but also listening to Katie, like I can't kill Gemma, but I can put her in jail and throw away the key, or I can lock her up in the basement somewhere, or et cetera, et cetera. I mean, I think there's just so much more to play with this form. I mean, gosh, she's the perfect vessel. M3GAN is. We got 2-3 more movies coming for sure. Can't
Easy,
wait,
dude.
Can't wait.
Worst case scenario, absolute worst case scenario with this one is that they go too quickly with the angle of M3GANs have been mass produced by this other company. Like the other company gets the files, they make a fuckload of M3GANs. Like if there's even 2 M3GANs in the next movie, it's a wash. You don't need more than one M3GAN. Like she's omnipotent, omniscient AI. Like that's all it takes. It's so much scarier if it's one person. They did it in Stranger Things. It was like we had the Demogorgon in the first season, terrifying. Second season, there's a bunch of demo dogs. It's just not as scary.
It dilutes it for sure.
Absolutely.
But she is like part of like the house now, right? Isn't that kind of implied at the end? Like she's like in the Google home or whatever and is like watching everything. She's like controlling that. So she's out there and she exists. What if this other company builds a body for her and then the beginning of the next movie is her getting into the body? And then she turns around and starts like hacking people apart or whatever. But then what's her? Is she still obsessed with Katie? Is she out for revenge? How do they maintain this character like protection thing going forward? Because it seems to be like a crucial difference in her character. And I don't know how replicable it is, right?
Yeah, because you don't just switch it to a different character because then you're just playing out the exact same movie again. And if it's Katie, you got to get in there quick because like realistic, like just past what we currently have tech is so crucial to this movie that I think if you wait 10 years, it could be a radically different tech landscape. Like, I think people will have a completely different relationship with AI in like 10 years. So you kind of got to get in there quick.
Maybe how do you keep her from being like Jarvis or something too, you know?
Oh, yeah. I mean, maybe it will be, you mentioned Jarvis, maybe it'll be like an Ultron thing where it's like maybe the other company mass produces M3GAN bodies, but evil M3GAN is only jumping from one body at a time. So like, I think they showed in Age of Ultron which body Ultron was in at any given point in time, because most of the drones had red eyes, but then whichever one his like main consciousness was in had blue. So yeah, maybe it'll be a similar thing with M3GAN's.
What about if it's just like a general, like kids, like protecting kids against their parents. And then the next movie is just like killing adults. And it's like all these kids are like, you know, mad at their dad, and then their dad gets murdered or whatever. I don't know. I feel like talking about the M3GAN character is even more fun than the movie, which we should talk about this movie and just like going to the theater, because our boy Spencer Pazer, I mean, he's wrong, but not very. Endgame level hype was the words he kept repeating in a stone stupor. Endgame level hype. Everyone in our theater was on something, Kevin. People were yelling at the screen. People came correct. I don't know of a movie. I don't think I've been, well, I'm trying to think of a showing where the audience came like more prepared for a movie than this one. It would have to be like a franchise. It would have to be like Star Wars, you know, where people are already dressing up like a property that we're familiar with. But this is a brand new property, brand new idea. And people were hyped for it. They knew, everyone tonally knew exactly what we were going to get. Our theater was hyped and into it. Everyone's screaming at the thing. People are making jokes. It was like just a good time at the movies. I don't know. I can't even relate it to anything. This is our generation's Rocky Horror Picture Show, where people are going to be watching this. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. I got to say that.
Slow. It's a little too slow.
It's definitely too slow. It's good, but it's not great. But it could be that type of thing. And they definitely could do like a sequel where it has that kind of like energy and vibe and the goofiness. And it was great. But it had that kind of energy in the theater, which I thought was a blast, man. It was a blast. This is a great movie. See it in theaters.
So much fun. That was exactly the experience that I want when I go to see a movie on a Friday night. It's the Friday night. It's the opening night of the movie. Everybody kind of buzzing before the movie starts. And I mean that very literally, because as Tim mentioned, everybody in the theater was on something. The restrooms were like directly across the hallway from our theater. I'm walking back into the theater after using the bathroom. And a girl, this is before the movie starts, a girl came all the way down the ramp outside of the theater, checked what movie poster was next to the door, steadied herself and went, okay, and went back inside. Oh, it was amazing. I mean, we had somebody that was like basically trying to get like chants started in the theater beforehand. It was great. People just absolutely destroyed watching this movie.
Movies are back, man. Movies are back, baby. This is what Tom Cruise wanted for us. Movies are back.
God, I love it.
Should we do some beefs and thieves?
Yeah, let's do some more beefs and thieves.
Okay. Well, you got any beefs? What are your aside from the dancing and the lack of an R rating? You got any big beefs?
Let's see here. I think it was a little slow for me, especially because we get it. Like, we understood it. One of the big strengths of this movie is that it is really tonally clear. I don't think there's ever like a tonal mismatch in this movie. It knows what it is. It plays that all the way through. It's great. Because of that, it was kind of jarring to see it play itself out so much like an 80s movie where it feels like it needs to kind of introduce you to the genre. Like, do you remember how with like the early X-Men and Spider-Man movies, they had to kind of sell audiences on the idea that we were going to see a superhero movie and really take their time with like the setup and people getting powers and all that.
Yeah.
It felt like it was doing that for like a Chucky style movie. And it's like, yeah, Chucky was like 40 years ago. Like we got it. we know what this is. I would have loved to see it start sooner and accomplish a little bit more. I think a little bit of a faster pace would have helped get it to that like Rocky Horror status. And I would love to see that in the sequel. How about you?
That's why I have high hopes for M3GAN 2 Back in the Habit, because they'll know exactly what they want. And they're like, cut to it, cut to Whoopi Goldberg with the kids, teaching them how to sing. We get it. M3GAN, just build the M3GAN, get to killing, find the girl, do the thing. I like Ronnie Chang, maybe a beef. Yeah. I didn't love Ronnie Chang in this, and I feel like I could have. I don't know. I don't know if he was getting weird direction. Maybe he's just not a great actor. I know he's like a funny guy and like a good. I guess I simultaneously want to see more of him, and also was underwhelmed by him in this movie, if that makes sense.
I totally get it. It was never clear to me why they hired a stand-up in that role. I didn't feel like that was a role that had to be funny.
No, it really did. I feel like almost a serious actor would be better for that. Oh, yeah. I'd go actor there over like comic.
Oh, yeah. Who jumps out at you?
Oh, man, I'd go old man.
I was thinking you swing for the fences. You try to put in Jeremy Irons.
Oh, my.
Can you imagine if you had Jeremy Irons and M3GAN?
Would be awesome doing that.
I think he might do it, dude. He did Watchmen.
Gosh. Yeah, but Watchmen is like, the top tier. It's like the creme de la creme of comic books. It's like as close to art as comic books get in a lot of, I think, people's pompous viewpoint. I kind of was thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't know if he exudes enough authority or something. I don't know. I would have gone actor there, but I'm also like, oh, he's really funny. He should be in something. There's definitely something he could be doing in this. But they also killed him off, right? So who cares? Yeah. Thief, the summer camp thing was pretty fun. Mm-hmm. Her going to the summer camp and having that guy like in the woods following her around. The run was very cool. Could have used more of the run. The body horror in this was slept on a little bit. The bits we saw, great. Could have used more. Absolutely. What is up with all these movies? This reminds me of like Violent Night. Why are all these movies we're always like, could have used more? Why don't they just give us more, Kevin? I know you're supposed to leave us wanting more, but couldn't you just give us a little more? Why are you holding back like this? Why are you doing this?
Maybe there's some kind of reluctance and they needed to prove there's an audience first. It's exactly the opposite of what we talked about with Taika Waititi and James Gunn with their Marvel projects in the past, where they will do something and they'll really swing for the fences and do a lot. And it's like, you got the exact right quantities. And then they bring them back for a sequel and they do it too much. Like they push it a little too far over. So maybe this is what we need for the first one so that they can bring back these directors and say, do it again, but go a little further and we'll get the classics. Violent Night 2, M3GAN 2, they're going to be classic movies.
Yeah, it sucks you have to make like a medium, like a mid movie in order to get like money to make a movie that's too over the top. But even then, I'll tell you what, I think I prefer. I don't know if I prefer it. I don't want to get into the whole like Thor talk, but I like those things. I'm okay with James Gunn going over the top. I'm okay with Taika going over the top. I like it. I'm in. I get it. I want more of the same. I like more of the stuff on top. So I don't know. I feel like this whole pod is just us hyping up the saying, hey, we need a sequel and please let us work on it. Oh, my God. I'm trying to upgrade Zoom right now. Yeah, me too.
Dude, the body horror stuff you brought up. I would have loved to see some more like weird, gangly, like impossible robot bodies. The like robot helper that Allison Williams made in college was really cool. I would have loved to see some other like weird robotic, like half finished things. And you have a wonderful opportunity to give M3GAN a truly terrifying form. I did think when her face piece came off and we saw like just the robotic eye, like laser eyes and like the opening for her mouth underneath, I thought that was really freaky. I thought they did a good job of making that like very realistic, but also quietly very scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I thought it looked good. I don't know if this is a scary movie. I don't know if I would say this is like, it's not really scary at all. I think there's a way it could be scarier. There were scary moments, like the threats and her imitating the voice was very cool.
Yeah.
That scene was awesome and super intense. And that was another movie, another part where I'm like, Katie, you dumb child, like just figure this out. And this is another instance of, I guess I have no idea how old children are supposed to be, because I saw this girl and I'm like, she's intelligent. She knows what toys are. It's clearly like, I feel like it's an older actor playing younger and dumber. And I saw her art at one point and I was like, oh, this kid sucks at like, you're above that, you know? This is like, she's making shit that goes on the fridge. And I'm like, no, you should be doing multiplication tables or something, you know, like that. This is crazy.
It's exactly the same as the cookie in Violent Night, where it's like a cookie that looks just like Santa and it's just smeared red on a gingerbread man.
Maybe all kids suck at art. And that's just something. Maybe I'm tooting my own horn because I was like 9 and like, you know, I'm drawing some pretty good stuff. And all these kids, maybe the whole time it was trash, Kevin. I don't know.
Dude, there's only one way to find out. If you're listening to this podcast right now and you have a kid and you want to find out if they suck at art, email it to us, nerdyfor30@gmail.com. We're not going to mince words. We'll tell you exactly what we think of it.
Please do. Yeah. We just need fans with children to have your kid draw something. Send us. We don't want any real information about your kids.
Nothing.
I want a piece of art and an age, and that's it. And I want to be able to decide. There's this. Somebody must have done this art project. I should be able to Google like 8-year-old art and just like see what it is. Does the horse have a face? You know, does the elephant have a really long tail like a tiger? Does the zebras have spots or stripes? You know, like I have no barometer for what children do, but their art in movies, it seems like they're always terrible artists.
Yeah.
Classic. You know, I think we like this movie just enough to make this, a difficult pod.
Yeah, it's too far down the middle. I got one thing that I think we both loved. I think the biggest thief for me was completely unexpected. The ad in the very beginning of the movie.
Oh,
so funny. It was played, I mean, dead straight. Like it was such a fucking good sketch. Oh, what a great bit.
It also set the tone perfectly.
Yeah.
I think everyone in the theater laughed. Everyone in the theater was like, oh, okay, I get what this is. This is all a bit. And we love it. We're here for it.
Yeah.
I'd love more bit. It was great.
It's so rare, I feel like, that we talk about movies on this podcast that so clearly understand exactly what they are and just go for it. Yeah.
It was great. Just one more. I want more. Give me more M3GAN. M3GAN 2, back in the habit. We'll see you again.
Well, hey, what did you think? Did you love M3GAN? Did you hate M3GAN? Let us know. Send us an email, nerdy430@gmail.com. That's way too loud. Give us a follow on Instagram. We post some stuff on there. It'll be fun. We'll have a great time. I've been Kevin Bauer. He has been Tim Keck. Thank you so much for listening. Until next time, stay nerdy, everybody.
Stay nerdy. Bye. Bye. Bye, M3GAN.